welcome to Creative Confidence. I'm Angela Nicholson, the founder of SheClicks, and as usual today I'm joined by co-host Katie Teasdale-Ward from Kudosity. Hi Katie, how are you?
Hi Angela, hi SheClickers, all is very good, thank you. The sun is shining, it's Friday, it's Creative Confidence, we've got a special guest.
It's all good. We have a special guest today, Tigz Rice, who's an acclaimed boudoir and branding photographer. Hi Tigz, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. It's so lovely to be here. It's been Friday with you.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to see you. So we were just discussing earlier that although we've kind of mixed in the same circles and perhaps chatted a few times somehow through email or messages, but we've never actually spoken in person. And at the moment, this is about as close as we're going to get.
Yeah. It's funny how in this industry you can, I think, photographers are so good at networking anyway. So it's like we all know each other. Often, sometimes we know each other's work, but not faces. Or in our case, like I don't even know how many years it is that we've been running in the same circles, but never actually been in the same room.
Yeah, it's probably off in a side room somewhere at the photography show or something like that. Anyway, it's lovely for you to have you here in Creative Confidence. I wonder if you could perhaps kind of introduce yourself to some of the people here who may not be completely familiar with your work and what you do.
Absolutely. So hi everyone, it's nice to virtually meet you all. My name is Tigz Rice. My pronouns are she, her. I am based in Hertfordshire, although I'm here in sunny Brighton today for a bit of a change of scenery. And I specialise in boudoir and personal branding photography. So I help fearless leaders and badass brands turn up and show up for themselves authentically and with consistency in all areas of their life.
Fantastic. Now, one of the reasons that we thought it'd be really good to get you on Creative Confidence is because as well as managing your own confidence, I think with branding and boudoir photography, you're kind of helping boost your clients' confidence levels, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a huge part of what I do. I started off when I was taking photos. I started off in the burlesque scene, and so I was working with these incredible humans that were getting on stage every night in sparkles and glitter and celebrating their bodies of every shape, every size. You know, it didn't matter what height you were. It was just the most incredible group of people, and I remember thinking at the time, wow, like, this level of confidence is second to none. Like, I want a bit of that in my life. And so I started photographing a lot of burlesque performers, and then other non-performers started reaching out saying, oh, I'd like a bit of that too. Can you help me get that? Yes, absolutely. And it has effectively become a business of helping people show up for themselves and feel confident in the skin that they're in and show them the beauty that I see in them.
So do you find that's rubbed off on you, that sort of feeling of confidence?
Completely. Yeah. It's so lovely to, from all angles. So there are some clients that come in who already have that confidence and you can feel it as they walk in the room. And then also other clients that they don't have it when they show up, but they have it by about 20 minutes into the shoot. And it's been amazing for me as well. Like, for the last 12 years, I've been photographing every type of body, and it was a huge wake-up call for me to go, actually, I don't get to show my body to that many people, mostly because of laws,
and the weather, let's face it.
And the weather. But it's not often that we get to see that many bodies, and being able to see hundreds of bodies a year makes me realize that what everyone has is normal, because everyone is unique. And it's definitely given me a great perspective on how I've learned to love my body as well over the years.
And do you feel any certain amount of pressure to make sure that somebody goes away feeling boosted, or does it just come naturally through the shoot?
It definitely comes naturally, but I just always want people to go away having that absolute feel-good factor. That's what I'm here for. And through a mix of saying amazing body confidence boosting things to you, and just, like, there is beauty in absolutely everyone. And if it takes me telling you for 2 hours how amazing you are, and how peachy your bum is and how great your calf muscles are and how much your eyes sparkle and your cheeks pop on set and how that highlighter is literally glowing on you. You know, if you hear enough, and it's the same as within ourself, in our inner voice as well, when we look in the mirror and say, I like this about me, hearing it enough helps build that. So part of it is me just going, you're amazing. And, you know, I'm just going to keep telling you this until you believe it too.
So do you have that routine with yourself?
I definitely did. I think I've reached a point now where I'm comfortable with what I see in the mirror. And interestingly, and one of my clients said it perfectly the other day, you don't have to love everything about yourself. You just have to accept what you are and what you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so my body fluctuates a lot. Like I go up and down in sizes, you know, I'm also aging day by day. And I don't have to sit and have that mantra with myself every day, but I do make sure I look in the mirror and just connect with my entire body, not just the things that I would have focused on in the past, but also the good things that I really like about myself as well. So perhaps it's not as much an enforced part of my day, but it's definitely still there in the background.
Before you started to shoot Boudoir, what were you shooting? And were you shooting sort of professionally, or were you just, what was your before Boudoir?
Nothing.
Okay. So you went
So I actually come from an illustration background. So
Okay.
my degree is design and branding, and I was literally coming through my degree and fell out of love with drawing. It just wasn't working for me. I was having a really hard time getting through that last final year, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to pick up a camera because at least I don't have to draw. And I'd gone into uni, and although I wasn't in the right department, they gave me a camera that I could borrow. So I was literally convincing my work colleagues and some of my fellow students to dress up for me for photo shoots so that I could take these photos. And when I say convince, I mean, literally all I had was, it was a Canon 450D that was broken. It only worked in, I can't even remember what setting it was. I think it was in manual.
Yeah.
Or it might have been like one like AV or something like that. So you had to know some of the manual settings. I had a windowless cupboard and I had a bed sheet tied to a water pipe with a tungsten lamp because that's all I could have.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we don't know each other that well, but do you want to come hang out in a windowless cupboard with me while I take photos of you?
Program waiting to happen, isn't it?
So I did a couple of like illustrated picture books. So the first one was Alice in Wonderland themed. So it was bordering on boudoir, I would say, anyway. But at that time, I don't know if boudoir was technically a thing. I don't remember it being a term I knew. Burlesque at that point was very underground still, so I didn't actually really know what burlesque was at that time either. And I did that to basically pass my degree. And then I had a camera because I bought my own because the camera wasn't working that well. And I emailed a few. I was proactively emailing at that point saying, hi, I've just graduated. It's a recession. Please hire me. I'll take anything. And I got a lot of the, can we put you on file kind of emails. Anyway, I emailed a PR company. They said, we're so sorry. Like, we don't have anything right now, but we'll keep you on file. The next day, our photographer is sick. Can you cover a press event for us? It's not paid, but we'll cover your travel if you're willing to go. And it was a burlesque festival, and it was the press night. I absolutely loved it, and I convinced them to let me to go back every day for the rest of the week. And by the end of that week, I was taking bookings for clients. So yeah, I literally rolled out of illustration, and just I found, obviously I had to put work in. I'm not going to make it sound like I didn't have to put the effort in to get there, but yeah, within 6 months of leaving uni, I was shooting. And by a year after that, I was full-time as a photographer.
Did you ever consider, because burlesque and boudoir were still were still quite niche and quite sort of new on the horizon. Did you ever consider thinking, right, well, I'm going to shoot weddings, I'm going to do some landscapes, I'm going to do some non-burlesque work, or did you feel that conviction right from the get-go to be right, this is essentially I found my niche, I'm just going to run with it? What did you think at the time?
I knew burlesque and boudoir was where I wanted to be. Like I knew that was my calling. I knew the market wasn't big, but I was also young enough and naive enough to not know any better that I might need to diversify. Because I was 20, I was been 22, 21-ish at that point. And so I don't know that I didn't necessarily have the faith in myself at that point either to just go, this is going to be my full-time, whatever. So I had a few part-time jobs. I did special educational needs support for a girl in a college for a year. And I was also doing part-time work in a private school, in an independent school, teaching A-level and GCSE graphics. So I was supporting it by still being in that creative industry. And then for reasons, there was a point where it just became apparent that the things that I was doing in the creative world could earn me more money than I was currently earning. And an opportunity came up for me to hand my notice in and just go, from April the 6th, I'm just going to crack on with this and hope for the best. And the first year when I was part-time, I made a loss that year of about £700. The second year, like first year full-time, I think I broke even, like pretty much to the penny. And then the year after that, I started making profit. So it was a couple of years until it really took off. But I think it took me a couple of years to go, I have faith in myself to make this a full-time employable kind of, I can rely on this.
Whereabouts in terms of sort of global photography, so is burlesque and boudoir still up and coming in the UK, or is it does it take more, are more photographers doing it in different countries, or what's the kind of global landscape for burlesque and
good question. In terms of burlesque, America definitely has the biggest market. The UK is a close second. So, for example, we have the 21st Century Burlesque, and they do a worldwide sort of nominate your best, like who you think is the best in the business. And it's predominantly American dominated, with England second, and then Europe as a whole tends to be like the third sort of clump of countries combined. So but burlesque is everywhere. Like there's a scene in sort of like Cape Town has a big scene, Perth as well. Like anywhere that you've got a big creative community, you can find a lot of burlesque. So in terms of that, it's definitely global. Photographer wise, I guess it follows the scene. So wherever you've got the performers, you might find the photographers. And then in terms of boudoir, I don't know if it's still growing, but it's certainly still popular. So there was a massive boom maybe 5 years ago. So a lot more people are offering boudoir now, for sure. I would say it's probably still growing, but not at the speed that it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that probably had more to do with the availability of digital cameras at that point as well. Like it suddenly, the whole industry became a lot more accessible at that point.
And I guess COVID's had a negative impact recently because people couldn't meet up for the shoots. Did you try remote shooting or anything?
Yeah, so I did virtual shoots from April last year through. So I've actually managed to shoot in, I think it's 21 countries, I think. Wow. Oh no, 14 countries, 21 of the US states. So that's how popular the boudoir stuff is in America, for sure. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to shoot in person because in-person boudoir, because it was business to consumer, wasn't allowed. So yeah, it basically all went online. And, I would never have thought of shooting across the internet, but worked out a way of being able to tether to people's cameras thousands of miles away. Like, you know, I'm doing a shoot in New Zealand, for example, and I'm controlling someone's DSLR with less than a second's lag when they're like, what? I don't even know how many thousands of miles away that is. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so much fun.
It's a steep learning curve, isn't it? I mean, fortunately, I'd started to do Zoom webinars a bit before, so I was kind of a little bit on board. But then everybody suddenly had to learn what these things were. But
Yeah.
I think taking control of somebody else's camera, you've got to explain to them how to connect and how to get it all set up, and then get them to change the settings.
Well, so here's the thing, depending on what camera brand you have, you can literally plug it in via USB and you can control everything. So I just say to them, put your camera in manual mode, and I can control. The only thing I can't do is change the focal length on a lens, because that actually needs to be manual. But yeah, so you can set your own ISOs, you can control shutter speed, you can control like the light setting, the Kelvin balance, everything. It's just, and the weird thing is, this technology has actually existed for years. We've never had a need to use it, have we? So, but it excites me, the possibilities that are opening up now for creatives, where, you know, if we were geographically limited before, we're not now at all. So,
So do you think you'll continue with that post-pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my clients is now, they've booked 9 shoots during virtual shoots during the lockdown. So I'm hoping that those partnerships, now that they're built and obviously they're working, we can just continue. And also looking at maybe developing a way that I can actually offer that to brands at a higher level, you know, and provide, you know, as long as I've got an assistant basically there, then I can creatively direct and produce exactly what I need without having to do the 2 to 24 hours travel wherever that might need to be. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see how that changes.
Do you think shooting burlesque and boudoir as a female photographer has helped you get, I don't want to say better photos, but a more fulfilling creative process than perhaps if boudoir is shot by a man?
Do you know, it's a really tough one to answer, because I can only speak from my perspective. And I have been photographed by men and women in the boudoir setting, also as a burlesque performer. And I think there is a difference between how a cis man and a female identifying human would potentially frame and compose shots, like the angles that may be chosen, the focal points. Like someone said to me recently that they know whether a boudoir shot has been shot by a man or a woman, depending on how much of the body is in the frame, which I thought was a really interesting concept. I haven't done enough research to know if I feel the same way about that.
Interesting thought.
But it's also, I guess, who you feel most comfortable with photographing you. Like, for example, if your photos are for you, how do you want to see your body being shot? So some people might really enjoy being photographed by a man because they enjoy the way that men see them, for example. And there are other people who might say, I want to be viewed by a woman because I want to see what women see, the beauty in me. So gosh, I don't know that I can answer that, because I can't answer from the other
exactly
the other side.
Yeah.
But I do think if you are open to it, it's worth experiencing both, like having a male and a female photographer, and especially if you're shooting boudoir, to make sure that you're on the other side of the camera as well, so you know how your clients are feeling.
Yeah, that's a really good point to have, because I guess, you know, there's a lot of I mean, how much time do you spend with the person that you're shooting before even the cameras are set up? What's the kind of process that you go through?
So we'll normally have spent some time on the phone or on Zoom or depending on where they are, in person chatting beforehand. So you've probably spent 20 or 30 minutes getting to know me before we've even got to shoot day. And then when you turn up on a shoot, it will be probably an hour and a half of hair and makeup. If there's a stylist involved, there may be another 30 to 60 minutes there as well, sort of getting outfits ready and things like that. So we may have already spent 2 to 3 hours together already by that point. And it's always been really important to me to sit in on the hair and makeup being done as well, so that it's not just like, oh, here I am now. So I've always sat in and chatted where I can, obviously between lipstick applications and whatnot, and really tried to get to know the person and what makes them tick, and, you know, whether they've got any anxiety that day or things they're conscious of, things playing on their mind, because I know that that would be important to me as well. And yeah, so yeah, quite a bit of time. The shoot itself then is normally somewhere between 60 minutes to sort of like 2 hours normally. So by the time the shoot's finished, you know, practically best mates at that point. So
do you find that you have a chat with somebody, whether it's in person or on Zoom or whatever, and that kind of, you get to know each other a little bit? But I imagine while the makeup's going on and the hair's being done and the stylist is happening, all that sort of stuff is going on, that is the point where you really start to form a bond, which makes the next stage, taking the photographs, more enjoyable.
absolutely. I think once you're there and once you're in that environment, and because you don't want marks on your body from socks and things like that, so you'll probably have changed into like a robe and sort of like loose fitting clothing. And then you've got someone in your, like, right up in your face doing your hair and makeup, and it's already breaking down those personal barriers. And so at that point, it's like, okay, well, this is actually happening now. And once you're in that state of vulnerability, you start to share more because suddenly that person is in your space. So it is really important to have those chats at that point. And also I find that, especially if you work with, I have amazing hair and makeup artists I've worked with for 10 years now. And I know that because they've had a physical bond through touching, through like hair and makeup being done, that I know that her bond is actually stronger than my bond is for the first half of the shoot. So she will always stay on set, and if things need adjusting that one of us needs to do, I'll ask if it's okay for her to go in and, adjust the bra strap or do the stockings or something like that, because they already have that trust built up, where I still have to earn that into the shoot. And again, like, consent is always key. You always have to ask before you go and, like, sort of, I don't want to say manhandle, but like, if anything needs fixing, always get the consent. But yeah, so the only thing I can really describe it is, I mean, mostly all of us go and get our hair cut at some point, and how hairdressers are kind of that person that you tell all your secrets to, and they know everyone's gossip, and your boudoir photographer tends to be that person as well. So yes, we hear the body worries, and we're here to help you feel confident. And it's so lovely to hear everyone's backstories, because everyone has a why for you don't just rock up for a boudoir shoot normally and go, I feel like taking my clothes off in front of a stranger today. It's, I'm coming here to celebrate me, to pass this milestone, to reward myself for X, to acknowledge the fact that I've taken a big step in my life and shown up for myself. And we get to celebrate all those life milestones with them as well. And that's actually my favorite part of the job, is just celebrating life achievements with others.
Do you get any people who come along purely because they would like a boost in their confidence, whether it's their sort of their personal confidence or their body confidence?
Absolutely. Yeah. So personal confidence is a big one. Definitely sort of like, I want to feel more confident within myself. Sometimes it's, I'm trying to get over the comments that other people have said, and I want to prove to myself it's not true. Some that have come out of relationships where they need to feel sexy for themselves rather than for someone else. All kinds. We have clients that come in to document their body journeys as well. So sometimes that might be a weight loss transformation. Sometimes it could be life-altering surgery. I've had a couple of clients come in pre and post op with double mastectomies. I've had clients who've had really, really bad trauma to like knees, and for example. And so their shoots are documents of what their body is actually capable of posing in. And where, you know, so the first shoot was like lying down and standing up poses with weight on one leg, to, I mean, the final shoot, well, the final one's going to be in October, but the last one we did was her kneeling in a lake, like with all this water around her. And the fact that she was able to kneel was huge. So yeah, it literally everything. It could just be having faith in your body to have the strength to hold you up, could be also a great reason to have a shoot.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting side to the whole genre, really. You know, about supporting other women or other people, basically making them feel good. But the decision process that they have gone through, you know, this will help me. I think that's quite very interesting.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to sit down and hear someone's why. And it will normally come out during the shoot. Sometimes they will offer it from the get-go. Sometimes, you know, you don't want to pry too much and only with the information they're going to offer, but probably by the end of the shoot or at the end of the shoot, there will be a big emotional release. And it's like, this is why I'm here. And, you know, thank you for helping me overcome or accomplish what I came here to do. So, yeah.
Have you ever had any clients who said, look, I thought I could do this, but I can't?
No, I've had one client who, oh, sorry, there was a clock going. I've had one client whose husband booked a gift voucher and she wasn't very confident coming through the door. And so it was, okay, well, look, there is no need for you to do all of this today, but how about we give you the hair and makeup treatment and you can at least get pampered, you can have your hair set nicely, you can have your makeup done. And if that's all you come out of here with today, it's fine, don't worry about it. And once that pressure was gone and she'd sat down in hair and makeup for the hour and a half and had a good chat with us and we'd given her a cup of tea and all that, and she was like, actually, you know what, let's do this. And that was the closest I think a client ever came to not doing it. I've had a couple who've booked and told me after the shoot that they almost didn't turn up that day, but no one has ever not gone through with it.
That's a lovely story about the person, you know, who just went through all the pampering and the cup of tea and then felt, yes, let's go with it. And that's to do with the connections that you formed, I guess.
Yeah, and that is why it's so important to just establish that relationship and be present and make yourself available for them to be heard, because you know, if you're showing up for a boudoir shoot, you're there to be seen, and so you need to make sure that they feel seen at every moment.
How did you feel when you did your very first boudoir shoot?
Oh gosh, I was so excited, so excited.
Yeah.
So I was just literally amazed that someone trusted me to take photos of them. And I will not lie, my photography was awful at that point. I come from a retouching background, so I learned to retouch well before I learned to take photos well. So it was the excitement that someone trusted me enough to take their photo, and I've always really valued that. I mean, especially now in the digital age, privacy is so important. So the fact that someone trusted me with a camera to take photos of them just felt amazing. And then so that was friends. And then I remember then starting working with people I didn't know. And at this point I wasn't charging. I didn't have enough portfolio at that point. And it was, oh my God, I can't believe strangers trust me enough to take their photos. And then the first shoot, and I massively undervalued myself. Oh my God, I can't believe someone will pay me to take photos of them and trust me to look after the photos. And it was, but like I was very lucky at the beginning that I was working with people that had a lot of confidence in themselves anyway, because obviously they were putting their faith in me. Like I had to build my confidence at that point. I don't know when it switched though. I don't know when it became me being the confidence provider rather than them showing up with full confidence. It probably happened in the first couple of years, maybe, and maybe that coincides with when I started feeling like I could charge more for my work. And then, yeah, I think it was a power dynamic at that point where I'm like, right, this is on me now to provide this to you, not you to turn up already with the confidence brimming to be shot.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about, whether in fact you were the most nervous person in the room for the first few shoots, because it's kind of like you're supposed to be in control, but, you know, you're learning.
Yeah, and I will be the first one to put my hand up and admit that I have massive issues with I always used to think it was a fear of failure, but actually I've worked out recently it's a fear of success. And just I think we all have that self-doubt somewhere in us that's related to something. And yeah, I always used to think it was what if I don't do this? And then I was like, no, Tigz, come on. Like,
what if I do? What if I do well? What if I am successful?
Well, yeah, that's actually the issue. It wasn't like, because I'm one of those people that will always I'll always go above and beyond. If it's not working out, I'll go above and beyond and make it right. So actually the failure was never the problem.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting though? Isn't that, and I think it's so important to kind of acknowledge that as well, because we spend it's like learning to drive. We spend all this time all on lessons learning how to drive, what all the instruments mean, what all the signs mean. We get in the car, we pass the test, and then we're like, oh, I won't take the car out yet. You know, it would, how long does your car sit in the drive before you get in the car, even though you're qualified to drive and you've got all the paperwork and etc. And we tend to, I think, sometimes get in our own way, certainly when we get to a stage where we're getting bookings, to go, actually, I can freak out about this now rather than freaking out about not having bookings. I'm going to freak out that I have got bookings. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I feel for everyone that's going through that right now, coming out this side of COVID, especially if you haven't been able to shoot for a long time.
Yeah.
And we started off COVID with this fear of, oh my God, there's nothing in the diary. And then suddenly it's, oh my God, I've got so much in the diary. How am I going to cope with this?
Yeah.
And I feel like that I'm hearing that so much right now.
Yes, I've been hearing that story. And I think it's because everything got rolled forward, you know, to, well, it's probably, you know, 18 months. It was initially 6 months and then 12 months and now 18 months. And so suddenly you've got a massively packed calendar plus all the things that are being booked now. So I think it's, you know, you've got to get up to speed quickly. It's a tough call.
Would you be, so how would you encourage how would you encourage photographers to explore boudoir photography or burlesque photography if it's something that they've have a bit of a, oh yeah, I would like to, but I'm not sure even where to start, how to have those conversations? How would you sort of give some advice?
I would thoroughly recommend booking yourself onto one. If you really want to do boudoir as an add-on or as your main focus of photography, it's so important to experience what life is like on the other side of the camera. And because you'll know at that point what you connected with, what you didn't connect with. You'll pick up on the things that you felt were amazing. And, you know, not everyone's process is going to be right for everyone, but you'll also understand how you felt and the vulnerability you felt, what your pain points were. And it's a really good way of learning how you would do boudoir. There are so many different styles out there. You know, you've got your cheesecake, your pin-up, you've got your bridal boudoir. There's so many different styles. If there are workshops going, maybe book on a workshop, try out different styles of boudoir. But the most important thing is to get out and shoot, you know, find some willing friends, take some self shots, you know, pick up we've all got one of those little timers that we all promise ourselves we're going to take photos of ourselves with, never do. But, you know, get in front of the camera, get your friends in front of the camera, explore, and yeah, see how it feels, see where it fits in with how you want to lift others with your photography.
And you mentioned that you work with makeup and stylists. Makeup. Do you work with the same sort of your squad, your team? Are they the same people, obviously pre-COVID or whatever?
Yes. Yeah. So pre-COVID, I had one specific hair and makeup artist that I worked with on like 95% of my shoots. She has not returned yet after COVID. So at the moment, I'm now establishing a bigger team, but I have a makeup artist in most counties in the south and southeast sort of area now, that are all cruelty-free and vegan, like kits, and so all of their products and, you know, all sort of aligns with our brand. But yeah, like, so I've got a list of them, and specifically I'll work with them where possible.
Yeah. Questions? Have we had
Yes, we have some questions. I think it'd be a good
Okay.
time. So first question is, do you ask clients if there's any part of the body that they don't like, or do you wait for them to tell you?
Normally they will offer it. I don't normally have to ask. I am quite good at picking up on nuances in conversation. Deep conversation is kind of my thing. You'll learn that about me. And so it tends to get to a point where it will naturally come up in conversation. Or if I hear something that feels like there is a block, I will say. But actually, I tend to frame it I wouldn't ask what your problem areas are. I wouldn't ask if there's any bits of your body you don't like, because it's enforcing that mentality. So normally I would say, do you have any injuries or anything at the moment that is affecting your ability to move? Or is there anything that I need to be aware of during this shoot? So it's framing it more around, do you have any ability issues that I need to, you know, and at that point, it's when we start talking about, oh, well, actually, you know, if we could not put weight on this hip, or I actually struggle to stand in heels. And by the way, if we could like hide my upper arms, I'd really appreciate it while we're on the subject. So yeah, framing that in a way that isn't like, what do you hate about yourself?
Yes.
And is there anything you need to make me aware of before the shoot goes ahead, tends to loosen up that conversation.
What about conversely, do you ask people, you know, what are they most proud of, or, you know, what are the assets that they would really like to show off?
Absolutely. I love the phrase flaunt your greatest assets. And, you know, whether, you know, do you want to show off some killer curves? Is there anything you want to really make a feature of your shoot? And yeah, normally, and if they're not forthcoming, then I say, okay, right, what are your 3 favorite parts of your body? And sometimes they can go bang, bang, bang. And sometimes they're like, let me think about this. So, but yeah, trying to get that sort of conversation and start that positive mindset from the beginning. And if I know bits of their body that they love, it just, yeah. So even then when I'm posing them, I can say, oh, this is showing off this part of your body. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, she's got me. She knows.
Do you share images with them as you go along so they can sort of say, oh, yes, God, I look hot there, carry on?
Normally, yeah. I don't particularly love people hanging up over the back of my camera, but if I see something that I think is absolutely phenomenal, I will show them the back of the camera. And normally I can also gauge from that how they're feeling. So if, depending on the response, I can kind of gauge, okay, they're not feeling comfortable in this position. Or they're absolutely like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's interesting how people respond as well, because, you know, sometimes you don't get much back, but the quietness is still like okay as well. And then I tend to try and do like a couple of, especially with the virtual shoots, I've been doing a couple of sneak peeks before the edit as well. So when the shoot is over, they get a quick, like, here's 2 unedited shots. You know, if you want to use any of them, put them on social media, feel free. They're unedited, just so you know. But also then I kind of gauge, okay, did you like this one or did you like that one? And then I know how to, because they don't get to choose the ones from the virtual shoots, it then guides me and like, oh, okay, they prefer this style, so I'll pick 10 from that rather than the other.
And do you provide outfits and props, or do your clients bring their own?
They bring their own for 2 reasons. One, hygiene. That's where I sit on it. I just don't have the time to clean an entire wardrobe that will fit a fully diverse group of humans. But also I do think it's really important to have clothes that you feel comfortable, sexy, and like they're a good fit on your body. And so I would rather spend time helping clients find that for themselves than spend the time investing in a large wardrobe. So, but everyone's different. I know a lot of boudoir photographers provide wardrobe, but yeah, it's never been a route that I've gone down. Also, my clients are so widely sort of spread out. So, like last week, this month I've shot in Knightsbridge, in Ipswich. I've got shoots up and down the country. I'm down in Brighton right now. I can't take an entire wardrobe on location with me to every shoot. So I guess it depends. If you're in a studio environment, you have more flexibility to provide that. Because I work on location, I can't. So yeah.
So it sounds like you almost have like maybe a virtual personal shopping service as well. You help people pick the right outfit. Just thinking, your average person, I mean, I don't know about you, but my dressing gown is not the dressing gown I want to be photographed in. I'd probably want to pop out and get something a little sexier.
Yeah, so I have a when you sign up, there's a full PDF and sort of explaining like, here are some things, here are some brands that I love. My blog is full of like, for example, this week it was awesome boudoir worthy plus size lingerie brands. So it was where you can go to find, lingerie that is, lacy and sexy, but also are catering for a more diverse audience. When I speak to clients, like I had one this morning and I'm like, hey, like, what do you want to, what are we flaunting on your body? And so I got my answer and I'm like, well, actually, like I recommend this brand, this brand, this brand. I'll send you the links when I send you the booking form. Yeah. So to me, it's about giving that personal little touch there instead. And also, who doesn't love treating themselves to some fancy lingerie? Like you've got the confidence, go home and wear it for yourself or someone else. Walk around your house feeling like a queen. Like, who doesn't want that in their life?
Absolutely.
I don't want my grey pants for much longer.
Let's not go there. 50 Shades of Grey and all that. So we have another question to say, thanks Tigz, such an interesting journey and focus. You clearly need to work with people emotionally as well as obtaining the physical shots, and no doubt really help people feel more confident. A great way to achieve a therapeutic intervention with a positive outcome for clients. How does that achievement make you feel?
So here's the thing, when lockdown first came about, I didn't have any clients because everything had to be moved, cancelled, rescheduled. And I remember thinking, oh God, like that's good. I'll have 4 weeks. I can crack through my to-do list. I can finish my editing. It'll all be fine. I'll just pick things up again in May. Yeah, it's fine. And then April, like mid-April hit and I was miserable. I was really struggling. And I worked out it was that I was missing that deep human connection with others. And it's so vital to who I am as a person. I don't do well at banter level. I'm one of those people that likes like proper, deep, meaningful conversation. And actually I thrive off that from my clients. And yeah, it's literally my reason for being. Like, I don't think I'll ever retire because I'll miss having that with people. So I'll still be doing, like, for as long as I can see through a camera lens and I can hold it up, as long as my wrists don't give out on me, I'm there, I'm good. Like, yeah, it's everything. Like, you can't beat having that kind of connection. And once you've experienced it, you just can't give it up, really.
So it keeps you going, basically. It's your kind of like positive life force.
Yeah, exactly. And then even with the branding stuff I do with clients as well now, and it's very much giving them that confidence to show up for themselves on that side of life as well. And I just love celebrating milestones and successes with people. It's the best part of life. So
it really is, yes. So thanks for that question. That was a great one. Another one, if you're shooting in different locations, do you have a travel kit of backdrops and things that you take with you?
Nope. So most of my clients prefer, none of them ever book me for colorama style work. It's always location stuff. And I've very much built my style around shooting on location. So the client gets to pick where they shoot. Sometimes it's their house. Sometimes they book a hotel and make a fancy weekend out of it. So really I'm turning up with a camera and lighting. So yeah, I have a couple of rolls of Colorama in my house, but I'll be honest, the only thing that I ever use Colorama for is when I do the Underpinnings Museum, which is product shots. So I haven't shot a person on Colorama.
And when you're planning to go to a location, to a person's house, do you ask them to show you a photograph of the room that they'd like to use first, so you feel I can work with this, or do you turn up and think, oh, okay, this will do?
I like the challenge. So I just I really enjoy, I turn up with lighting, and I know I can, I started off in a windowless cupboard, so I can light anything. But yeah, I enjoy the challenge of turning up. Normally they'll have said, what do you think about this location? Sometimes not. I won't scout the location. I turn up and I enjoy the challenge and we work with it. But in the same way, I think it's the same with clients. You might be feeling one way when you book, but you don't feel that way on the day that you're shooting. And so a lot of it is then working with the client and seeing how they're feeling. So, if they're not feeling like being out and proud and showing everything off on the day, we might have planned to do a shoot on the bed, but actually there might be a sofa in the corner that they feel more comfortable on that day. So I try not to go in with too many preconceived notions and then work around how the client is feeling on the day.
Okay, thank you for that. How does a virtual shoot work? Are the RAWs coming back to your computer?
So if I'm doing it through phones, then most of the apps that you can use, like Shutter and Kloss is another one, that will send them directly to you, so you can just download them. If you're working with DSLRs, then the photos will be stored on their devices. So I normally set them up so that I set them up 2 copies. So there's one RAW that goes onto the camera, and there's JPEGs that go onto the computer, just so that I can see them as they pop through. Mm-hmm. And then I'll say to them, look, don't send me all the RAWs, just send me 20 that you love, and I'll pick 10 out of the 20. So it does rely on them sending them. Yeah. But they normally want the finishing touches in the editing. And I know that doesn't give me much control over the RAWs, but I'm not bothered about them having the RAWs in that case.
You're not tempted to look at the JPEGs and say, can you send me these RAWs?
No. The thing is, if I'm taking all of the shots and they're coming straight to me and they don't see them, then I have a bit more control over that. But if let's say they've taken 100 photos and I say, I want these 10, but they've got the other 90 sat there, and they've gone through them and pick out better, then it's basically then me saying to them, well, you can't have the ones that you think you look the best in. It just gets awkward. So yeah, just send me the ones that you think you look best in, and I'll cast my eye over those and pick ones that fit in with my style, kind of go that way. Sometimes, occasionally they'll say, I want specifically these 10, but that might be 2 out of the 100 that I shot in the last year. So yeah, I'd rather they were happy, to be honest. So it makes my life easier.
They are paying after all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have do you have a conversation about retouching before the shoot, or is there an assumption that there'll be do people who come and have a boudoir shoot already understand kind of that there's going to be a level of retouching and it's enhancement, it's not distortion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's written on my website and what my signature retouching involves. It's in my FAQs. It's also in the contract. So it says specifically your retouching includes this, and it will be, if you've got a little bit where you've got an elastic indentation, I'll pull the indentation out, for example. If you've got a bruise and it's not part of your daily body, as long as it's not your entire thigh, for example, I'll get rid of the bruise. But if it's extensive retouching, or you're wanting color changes in outfits, or anything along those lines, it's extra, and it's a hard no on body reshaping. So you can't, I'm just not someone that will sit and remold your body into X shape. And I've always been really clear on that, and it specifically says it's not even an extra, it's just a hard no. And if you're looking for this, there's no judgment, but let me suggest you go to another photographer.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen very often. I've only said no to 2 clients for their retouching request in 12 years. So I would say that actually, like, I think I've set my boundaries relatively well on that. So yeah. But then as someone said years ago, someone said to me, always make sure that the work in your portfolio is what you want to be shooting for the next 6 months. And so generally when clients come to you, it's because they've seen something in your portfolio that they want to recreate a similar style of. So they should be able to get a relatively good idea of what you will be providing.
Yes.
And also, like, if you want to put before and afters as well, they can always be quite handy. I don't have any of those on mine, but they can also be a good way of managing those expectations.
Yeah.
With that in mind, you know, showing people what you want, do you ever go back and, if you're progressing your photography, moving in a different direction, would you ever consider going and taking some images off Instagram, for example?
Oh, I do it all the time. Yeah. For a couple of reasons. One, I never want to have too much content out there, especially if you're pushing forward and you want to start monetizing content. It's just, a good idea to sort of keep things fresh. But also, like, as I've grown and my style has developed, sometimes work just doesn't fit with where I want to be going. So yeah, so sometimes it comes off, but I'm quite picky about what goes up anyway. So if you have a look at either of my social channels, you'll notice that there's no green on them, and it's because I have an aversion to the color green. So yeah, so it's quite, what goes up is very branded, but it's also, I check up on that probably every 3 months and sort of make sure that I'm still going the direction that I want to be. My portfolio is relevant to the work I want to be booking, and making sure that I'm showing diversity and inclusivity in all areas as well. Like, that's really important to me. And yeah, just making sure that I'm showing up for everyone as well.
So if a client rocks up in a green outfit and they look absolutely fabulous, you'll take great photos of them, but you just won't put them on your Instagram.
I will. They will be in black and white though.
Oh. Of course.
So now you know all the black and white ones are actually pictures of green, lush green. And do you know what? I like, a lot of my wardrobe is green. I look great in green too. It's just there's apparently some of us, and it's more prevalent in women, have extra, I think it's cones in our eyes. We normally see in like red, green and blue, but some of us can have extras that are yellow. And so it makes certain shades of yellow and yellowy green really harsh on the eye. And I feel like I might be one of those people.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a test for that.
I would love to know if there is. I would love to know. It'd be also really interesting to know if anyone else can relate to that as well, because apparently it's more common in females.
Okay. So final question, which usually means another question comes in, but the final question, what precautions do you take to ensure your safety when you're going to other people's houses?
I always take a stylist with me. Always, always, always. Never be outnumbered. So that I have a Apple Watch, so it's always linking my GPS. I literally bought it when I started doing more traveling, because it's got a button on the side, and if I press it for long enough, it will send my GPS location to my 2 emergency contacts. So it will literally say where they are and alert the emergency services. So I mean, I have to pay what the cellular cost of that, which I think is like £7 a month or something. It's awful that I have to do that, but as a woman, that makes me feel safer. So yeah, I'll always take a stylist. There's always 2 of us. We're never alone. Like, we're always in the same room with each other. Someone always knows where I'm going. This is awful that I have to list this stuff, isn't it? It's in my diary that my husband has access to. So every single booking has the location and contact details in. In some cases, I have texted my parents and said, I'm going to this place. If I haven't called you by this time, please call me. If I don't answer, you know what to do. But yeah, just.
So quite an extensive array of layers you've got in process there, I think, in place, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
also a lot of it is common sense as well. It's this kind of advice that we would give friends and
It's
like exactly.
yeah.
Make sure that you're contactable, not alone, know
Yeah.
where you are. And so I think it sounds more daunting when you list everything, but
Yeah, like you don't think about it. Like it's so commonplace now. It just sounds awful when you say it out loud, when you realize exactly how much you do. But yeah, just always make
have those
sure.
kind of checklists of everything, it's a
Mhm.
checklist of your kit, checklist of everything else, and that's part of your business checklist to make sure
Yeah.
that that's all done.
Yeah. Always make sure someone knows, at the very least, make sure someone knows where you're going, and that you have a means of looking after yourself when you're there as well.
I have one last question. Sorry. It sounds like that each shoot that you have there is a big emotional investment. There is a big, it takes a lot of your brain time as well as your creativity, etc. So how do you make sure that there is time for Tigz to how do you decompress from a shoot that could be quite emotional, it's full of sharing of big emotional stuff? How do you make sure that you don't carry each one of those with you?
It's definitely worth building in some decompression time. So for example, if I've had a shoot day and I might have up to 6 clients that day, I will make sure that the day off afterwards is like me time, and sort of just so I've got some time. A lot of boudoir photographers, when we talk about it, we're like, it's like having a boudoir shoot day hangover, because you take in quite a lot. Exercise helps as well. So like after I finish a shoot day, I'll normally, like, not the moment, but I'd like maybe go to the gym, or like go for a swim, go for a walk with a friend, like something that involves like being out and about and just doing something that's filling my body with like sort of like stress releasing hormones. Not that I find it stressful or anything, but like it's just, like you say, it's just having that space to decompress after. I actually have a full day shoot coming up in a couple of weeks, so I booked a day at the zoo for the day after, just to go walk around, enjoy the day. And so it's definitely important to build those in. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's a really good point. I think they say it's planning it as well, not just sort of thinking, oh, well, I've got this full day shoots come up, and leave it, and then another full day shoot comes up. You slot it in after. You end up building up a whole calendar of events that you don't have any time to relax. So by putting I'm going to the zoo the day after in your calendar, it's all done and dusted. That'll happen.
Absolutely. I'm so looking forward to that.
That's really interesting, Tigz. Really interesting.
Yeah, fantastic. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been great chatting with you, and I hope that it won't be too long before we actually get to maybe have a little drink together in person.
Absolutely. We'll have to schedule in some afternoon tea.
Absolutely. Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, Tigz. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.